Hey guys. Oh, I was too early. Dang it, I always make fun of Taylor for that. Hey guys. Well, welcome to Quad Down Pod. As you can tell, we're down one Larry and up two friends. So today's going to be a really interesting episode. I'm really excited for this. How are we all doing today? Everybody here is a regular on this show at this point. What's up, guys?
Oh, doing great.
You're doing great as well. I know that we'll probably date this recording immensely, but I'll just finish watching the clips today. And aside from Josh, which was stuck in cloudy weather, it was pretty cool.
It was cool. It was just not what it could have been. I mean, 1.5 million people came to this area, and it was cloudy. That's the most Buffalo thing I can think of besides losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. Anyway, so yeah, obviously we have McLovin here and CedarKev and Taylor.
Okay.
So today's going to be kind of different. We usually have like a news segment, top of show, and then a key topic we want to talk about, and then round it out with questions. Today we're just going to chat between friends. We have some questions at the end, so if you ask questions, don't worry, they're coming. But there's been some rumblings the last couple of days in the enthusiast community about Cedar Point's Top Thrill 2 logistical nightmares, is what I'm going to call it. And by that, I mean the information about the ride came out, and people are less than happy, I think is a good way to put it. First, let's start with the biggest topic, which is lockers. No, metal detectors. There is metal detectors on this ride. However, there is no double-sided lockers as far as we can tell.
So I actually have the full listing on the website up. I can, for context, for people to actually know, in case they don't know what we're talking about.
Yes, good idea.
So this is on the Rider Safety Information page on Top Throw 2, which debuted on Sunday, this April 7th, so about a month before official opening. There are some information regarding ADA, which is good if you want to look that up. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But
there was ADA information?
Yeah, it's everything about what you need, what extremities you need to ride, as well as just a few fun facts and about they have a test seat and all that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, the primary 4 that we need to talk about are the 3 notes and the first warning there. So the first note: loose articles are not permitted past entrance. They may either be left with a non-rider or be placed in lockers for storage. Glasses may only be worn on this attraction if they're secure with an athletic strap. Glasses may not be held in the hands of riders while riding. Loose-fitting shoes without a strap or back are not permitted past entrance. And this ride requires guests to pass through metal detection prior to being allowed to enter the line.
Where does this ride contain strobe lighting? Are we talking
camera?
About... Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was going to say, okay. Yeah, there's a lot to kind of break down here that I personally think is kind of left up for interpretation. It could be people are freaking out for no reason. But the first thing I want everybody's opinion on, does entrance mean the entrance to the station or the entrance to the queue?
It says allowed to enter the line, so I assume that means the entrance.
I think so too. Because I think that would just be more confusing to most people. Entrance is very much, for the 90% of people, know it as the entrance to the line, not the entrance to the actual ride itself.
So we think, because it's the only place that says enter the line, it says you have to pass through metal detection prior to entering the line. So you think you're going to have to metal detect instead of Steve at the right before the station. It's going to be when you go under the launch track, basically, when you walk through that little entrance.
So I guess I want to start with this because some people they've actually done that before. So which one of you rode Steel Vengeance in 2018 during the whole metal detector fiasco before the pouches?
I did.
Okay.
I did not.
I did not.
So essentially how they did it there was it was only lockers outside of the station, the little bag lockers outside there. Everything had to go in there. and they did metal detection right at the entrance to the line. So you had to put all your phones, your keys, your wallets, your bags all in those lockers, then go through metal detection, and then wait in the normal line without any of that stuff.
Okay.
And it does say on Steve's ride information that it's specifically before the loading platform. So I feel like if they were going to do the same for Top Thrill 2, it would be worded the same.
I agree.
So that fixes the... I'm not going to say Steve has throughput issues, but sometimes they're sending Steve trains half empty because, people are backed up at the stupid metal detector choke point. So that fixes that problem at least.
Correct. There's no hit to capacity from this ride from the locker system, which is probably the only good thing I can say about it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Kev, what's your opinion? Let's just start there.
Which Kev?
Yeah, which Kev?
Okay, Kev McLovin.
All right.
Okay, so me. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like if you just get everything out of the way before you get in the line, I feel like overall it would make it a little bit more efficient. I know it kind of stinks like not having your phone in line, especially if it's going to be a long wait. But at the end of the day, I feel like, just put everything away, right there and then just get in line. So.
Fair. Something that McLovin and I discussed last night after this information came out is the amount of lockers that they're going to need for this ride is astronomically high. And if you look at where the lockers used to be and where we think they're going to be now, which is the same place, there's not room for nearly enough lockers there.
I agree. And actually, I was thinking about this just a couple hours ago. So I can only think of 4 rides that have this specific type of policy at the current moment, which are El Toro, Kingda Ka, Joker, all Six Flags Great Adventure, and then Top Thrill 2. But here's the thing about all of them. Toro, Ka, and I think even Joker did not initially open with those policies in place. They were put after, when the demand for those rides had gone down. We have never, ever seen a ride with this specific policy open for the first time to the general public.
I will also say, every time I've been on Ka and Toro, they're like, are your pockets empty? And I just kind of tap them to show them yes. And they're like, okay, you can go. It's not like Cedar Point where you're walking through a metal detector being... I'm exaggerating here, obviously, but being strip searched to make sure you don't have anything. Like... It's kind of different. I mean, I know what you mean. It's the same, but it's different.
I'd say controversial opinion. I know a lot of people might give me flack for this, but I actually prefer doing it a metal detector way, because it's like, if you're going to do this policy, at least do it right. Because I guarantee that people have snuck phones on El Toro, they've flown off and possibly hit someone.
Absolutely.
Right. So
I mean, not the same thing, but in Cedar Point last year, somebody got hit in the face by a phone that flew off Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
And at Busch Gardens, Tampa, 2 years ago, I think, or maybe it was last year, a park you're allowed to carry loose articles on the ride because they have pouches and you're allowed to record your own POVs. A girl broke her own nose by trying to record on Gwazi. Her phone slipped out of her hand and smashed her in the face.
Ow.
So, like, it had, I saw pictures. It was a Gwazi injury, I'll put it that way.
There's no other ride there has pouches, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a valid reason to argue, and I don't think any of us are against a locker system if done right. I think Velocicoaster is probably the best example of a locker system done right. Taylor, I know you don't know, but basically at the end of the queue, you go into a locker room, like a dedicated part of the queue. You scan your ticket. It's a free locker. It pops open. You put your stuff in. You go up the stairs. They wand you just to make sure. They send you up into the station. When you get off, the exit takes you to the other side of the lockers. You scan your ticket, reopens, and you go on your merry way. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Actually, I've I'm going to pull the Europe card, Josh. I know you love when I do that, but I actually think FLY at Phantasialand has an even better version of that because it's the same thing, but instead of your park ticket, they give you like a plastic RFID wristband to put over.
That's fair.
So instead of worrying about your park ticket flying out of your pocket if you don't have secured pockets, a wristband, as long as you attach it right, will not fly off on the ride. So... And then you just give the wristband back to the attendant when you leave the locker area after you get off.
Isn't that kind of similar to what Splash and Safari does? Don't they give you like the wristband to like access your locker?
Yeah, pretty much. Except this one's more it's a little bit different system. The Splash and Safari ones, like you scan at like one point on the entire locker. The RFID ones at Phantasialand, each individual locker has its own scanning point.
So it's a magic band.
Yeah, it's basically a magic band.
Speaking of Disney and ADA that we talked to earlier, there's rumors that Disney is going to switch from their DAS system to the system Universal's using, possibly within the next 2 weeks.
In the next 2 weeks?
I didn't know it was that fast.
I heard allegedly it could roll out in the next 2 weeks, which is very interesting for me because I have the Universal card and I have my DAS interview in 8 days. So this is going to be really interesting for me to figure out what happens here because, but yeah, so Disney might roll that out. Anyway, but yeah, let's go back to inception of this ride. Obviously, it's a retrofit of Top Thrill Dragster. And they kind of had to deal with the hands they were dealt in terms of where the queues and the exit are, which is kind of the main reason double-sided lockers weren't used as far as I can tell, because you exit, like, if you're looking from above and Top Thrill's this way, and this is the spike, this is the top hat, you enter over here and you exit over here. It's not like there's a shared plaza, and I think everybody would agree Steve's implementation's kind of awkward, where you get off the ride and you have to walk back over towards the entrance and like go back behind the lockers. So how do we think they could have avoided this situation if Ground Zero, day one, they say, okay, we're going with the Top Thrill 2 bid from Zamperla. Let's design this loose article situation. What do you think they could have done from there?
I think you could have gone 2 ways. The first is reroute the queue. Because I remember back in the early conception days of Top Thrill 2, when we knew like it was being Zamperla, but we didn't know what the ride was, people were saying, okay, yeah, because of the Dragster accident, there's no way they're going to use the original queue setup.
I remember that.
So they were going to use the part of the old Blood and the Bayou haunt, which are those who are unfamiliar. It was basically a haunt area accessed by the exit of Dragster that kind of snaked under Iron Dragon, and then you could like possibly reroute it there, which... It wouldn't have been easy, but you could have implemented double-sided lockers there. Or the other way, which I would have preferred, and again, pulling the Europe card, is what Europa Park does and uses automated double-sided lockers. Or not lockers, bins. So it's like there's bins on the platform, they're big enough to hold your bags. You put them on the ride, you dispatch, and then like the lever on the locker basically like flips open, so you'll have like 2 different bins for each train.
I saw that somewhere recently.
Yeah, it's something I think parks are starting to try out. But yeah, and then you go on the other side of the bins when you get off, and your lever is open on your specific train. You grab all your stuff and go.
Kev, do you have any ideas? I have an idea to pitch, and I think it would have been so easy to implement, but I want Kev's input first.
I haven't really thought about that. Yeah, like kind of like what McLovin was saying. I was kind of thinking they would just go ahead and reroute the queue, which would probably like open things up a little more in terms of like what they could do with the lockers. But yeah, I guess with the way it is now, they're kind of in a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, Wildcats Revenge did lockers very well, very very well. McLovin, I know you haven't written it yet. But they did that, like, I'm not going to say as good as Velocicoaster, but it's really close. What I think they should have done, and it's cheaper than buying double-sided lockers, is the Yukon Striker bin system. You put your stuff in, you walk through a metal detector, Your bins move up, they stay with you, they go over to the unload platform. When you get off, your bins are there. Problem solved.
I will say, as I think I'm the only other person that's running Yukon besides you, Josh, but I'm not crazy on those bags, mainly because drinks are a chronic problem. Because you have to empty out your drink, and people will ignore that, and then all your drink spills everywhere and gets on people's stuff.
I know.
Yeah. But it's a good system in theory. It's not the best system, but it's something they could have implemented. I'll give you that. It is something that they easily could have done.
I mean, cheaper than double-sided lockers, fixes your problem 99% of the way.
I'm not sure if it would be cheaper than double-sided lockers because of all the mechanics and like the pulley system that snakes all the way around the station rather than just buying a box, basically. But we'll never really know because none of us work for Cedar Fair. So,
well,
yeah.
Kev, get a summer job. Work your way up through the top.
Yeah, you're the closest one now.
I'll become an engineer and I'll fill you in on all the details.
Start programming coasters and then you'll get there.
Yes.
Irvine Andre Engineering, Michigan based. Let's go.
So, how do we think opening day is going to go? I mean, does anybody plan on being there opening morning? I know the three of you the four of us, have plans that evening in a different city. Does anyone plan on being there that morning, though?
I'm not sure if I'm going to try it yet.
So I have tickets for the charity event, but not for opening.
I have the Prestige event admission. As for opening day, I'm literally going to be passing Cedar Point on the way to my destination, so I will probably stop by at least for lunch and to ride everything else but Top Thrill 2. I am staying far away from that ride on opening day.
Yeah, I told McLovin last night, I think I'm going to try to go on the 12th, maybe stay overnight. My honeymoon officially starts the 14th. That's when we leave Buffalo. But obviously, I leave work on the 10th, and then the 11th and 12th are a weekend. I also took off the 13th. So if we go out there the 12th and then stay overnight, I could probably get some good night rides on the 12th and then morning rides on the 13th with a Saturday and Sunday and Monday while school is still in session. That's kind of my plan to get on.
Just saying, All American Triple Loop opens on the 11th.
I know, but I can't. Maybe I could go to Indiana. I'll consider it. I do love Indiana. I did live there for a year and a half. Anyway, yeah, opening day. Like I mentioned earlier, let's say there's a 4-hour line. You're gonna need 1,000+ lockers at that point. How's this gonna go?
Might just have to start using the Magnum lockers, or maybe just go to the Millennium lockers.
Well, the problem with that is those lockers kick you out after 2 hours. I'm thinking it's going to be a 3+ hour line opening day.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a problem in and of itself. Is if this line, even with Steve, some days it pushes 2.5 hours. So we're expecting this to be higher crowds. It's going to be have you ever had one of those lockers expire on you?
I haven't personally, but some of my friends who have used those have had expired. And I have to basically renew.
You either, and I refuse to pay for it because my wallet's always in the locker. So I have to always call security and they have to renew it with a special pass and then verify my ID based on what's in there. And it takes 20 minutes just to get my stuff back. Now imagine that on a scale of 700 lockers. That's going to be a nightmare.
Well, and then imagine okay, it's already a 4-hour wait. What if it goes down for an hour? Now we're adding another hour or however long.
That's when you see the angry Italian men yelling into their phones.
I really want them to be there again. That was so funny last year.
That was so funny. Standing by the brake run, looking at it stuck, what do we do?
Yeah, I will say I will share my chicken scratch math that I had shared with Josh yesterday. So, Top Thrill 2, let's just average it out. Let's say it's 1,000 people per hour. And Taylor, you got a good point. What if it goes down? Well, you have to assume that it doesn't go down, which is extremely unlikely. So let's say 4,000 people enter the line right at opening. Well, that's, 4,000 people in line, 4 hour wait. The average group size is 3, let's say. I don't know all the statistics, but I like to use an average of 3. That's 1,333 lockers that you'd have to have demand at any given time during opening day to have. And that's just not feasible. No. There's no room to put 1,333 lockers all in that corner.
And to be honest with you, I think 4,000 is conservative. Like, that's less than 10% of park max capacity. Opening day is almost always not at, but near capacity. Plus opening Top Thrill 2 day, we're assuming 8% of people in the park are going to be in that line at any given time.
I will say, actually, Cedar Point does not hit anywhere near capacity on opening day. It's usually about 20,000.
Okay, so you're still talking about a 20%-ish. But 20% on opening day for Top Thrill, I think that could even be conservative. I could see up to 50, 60 at peak hour.
But the problem is people will start balking at that point, because even if 15,000 people want to ride it, people will see the 4-hour waits and be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ride something else that will inevitably break down halfway through waiting in line, because that's how opening weekend is.
I was going to say, opening weekend the last 2 years hasn't exactly been a picturesque of reliable coasters. It could be that at some points Top Thrill 2 and Corkscrew are the only things going.
That's the last 30 years, dude. It's been a chronic problem for that park ever since, the Kinzel days.
It's so weird. But yeah, they don't have enough lockers. Are they just, people are going to be throwing their bags in the bushes and their bottle, because people already hide drink bottles and stuff in bushes to avoid paying for lockers at Valerie.
I could totally see that happening.
Oh yeah, it will happen. I guarantee. Even if it's not, we'll talk about a debate a little bit if it's going to be free or paid, but either way, people will leave their bags just strewing in bushes. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, look at Banshee any day during the summer. There's always just a line of backpacks in front of it.
Yep.
You, McLovin, you missed a ride that doesn't let any loose articles in queue.
What's that?
Ride of Steel at Darien Lake, baby.
Was that new? Boy. That wasn't the case when I went.
It started 2022, I believe.
Okay, then, yeah, I'm not familiar.
Why do I not remember that?
You should remember that, because my drink bottle got stolen.
Literally just there.
Remember?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, because there's cubbies outside of the thing, but obviously Park's not responsible for lost, stolen, or damaged. So somebody just walked up and stole one of my drink bottles. Luckily, I had 2, and so it wasn't a huge problem. But yeah, one of my all-season drink bottles got stolen at Darien Lake when I was there with Kev.
Also, I will say, for anyone who steals all-season drink bottles, do you understand how disgusting those are when you think about someone who constantly drinks out of it?
Especially a Six Flags bottle where you don't have a straw, so it's literally just me mouthing the bottle all the time.
Yeah, stop, guys.
You're welcome,
it's
Taylor.
not worth it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. Yeah, so yeah, Ride of Steel. Except I've literally almost got in a fight with somebody because they tried to start a fight with Kyla after she told them that they were idiots for pulling out their phones on Ride of Steel and recording the whole thing. With their 10-year-old children directly behind them.
Nice.
Yeah, but they were too drunk to understand what the problem was. Which, again, escorting your 10-year-old children while too drunk to understand why it's stupid to pull out your phone. And then they tried to fight her, so...
Lovely.
Darien Lake, everybody.
It's such a terrible good park. It's still not Kev's worst Six Flags park, and that's saying a lot.
Yep.
It's my worst, actually.
Wait, what's Kev's then?
Mine is Discovery Kingdom. And it's probably mostly because it was weather related, because it rained, so more than half the park was closed.
Which is fair, especially when there's nothing open there. It's just so bad to look at.
Yeah.
You know what, McLovin? We have fascination, so shove that up your Discovery Kingdom.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely one of the best things about Darien Lake. I'll say that. I still haven't done the Darien Lake one, but I've done the one in Knoebels in Indiana Beach.
Hey, we also have a laser light show that Kev thought was, what did you say, surprisingly good?
Surprisingly good, yeah. That was a fun show.
No, I've seen that laser light show too. It is pretty cool.
And we have...
And obviously, you can't forget Moose on the Loose, you know?
Moose on the Loose.
Classic.
I have a sticker in my iOS of Kev on the Moose.
Oh, no.
On the Moose.
When I search Moose in oh man. Anyway, we also have Titan Track, 800 feet of Titan Track on a 3,400 foot coaster.
Michigan's Adventure has that Wolverine Wildcat now too.
Yeah, well, ours was free. At least the first section.
Wait, what do you mean it was free?
The only reason that Darien Lake is paying for Titan Track is because GCI literally gave them the first 300 feet for free to get them into the ecosystem.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
It's like how if you buy a MacBook during back to school times, they give you like a free pair of AirPods to hook you on the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, GCI gave Darien Lake free Titan Track so they wouldn't RMC Predator.
I mean, it's a good bribe, I guess.
It is, especially when you consider that they probably would have gone with RMC, either iBox or 208, because Titan Track is way more expensive. But now they're already invested in 800 feet, and it already works with their PTC Voyage train, their single Voyage train. So, might as well keep paying for it.
That poor train got demoted so hard.
You know what? That was Kev's favorite ride at Darien Lake.
I had a good time.
It was a good time. But yeah, back to Cedar Point. How long do you guys think the line is going to be on opening day?
Assuming good weather, I'm going 3.5 to 4.
Yeah, I would say 3.5 to 4.
Yeah,
So
same here.
I wonder at what point, like, how many hours of queue is there before you're spilling onto the midway? 2? 3?
I'd love to know, actually, because Dragster's queue could handle a lot of people, especially on, like, the back section, kind of closer to the top hat. That was just seas and seas of switchbacks, but that's how they were built back then.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they cut out when they redid it, because the roofing shade structures probably cost a lot of money, so they could only have so much queue in there.
I'm really wondering, because let's say it holds 2 hours of people and it's a 4-hour line. You don't have to put your phone in a locker for the first 2 hours. Suddenly that doesn't seem as bad, you know, giving up your phone for 2 hours instead of 4.
It's occurring to me how awful this is going to be if you, like, solo the park. You just have to stand in line by yourself for 4 hours.
I was thinking that too. Or, like, if there's a medical emergency in line.
Yeah.
Or, God forbid, a flag plate flies off and, you know,
if
somebody
the trains
gets
even
struck.
have flag plates.
Oh, you know what I mean. Like, God forbid something happens and everybody's trying to evac from there. Nobody can call 911. And by the time the EMTs at the park figure out what happened, that could be a life and death time frame with an accident like this. So I wonder if that's like a liability they discussed when they're like, if we take phones out of line, people are less reachable. Then again, cell service at Cedar Point is hit or miss anyway, in my experience, and their Wi-Fi sucks.
I heard they are supposed to get a Wi-Fi upgrade, though, especially in Frontier Town.
That would be nice.
No, that's good.
That would be nice.
Another thing I didn't think about too is like in addition to like the wait for the standby, like what's it gonna be like if a whole bunch of people say, you know what, I'm gonna get fast lane for the day.
Wait, I just thought of something. What if you use the single use fast lane, but you have to buy it on your phone? Then what do you do?
Oh, that's a good question too.
Is it?
Honestly,
are we confirmed buying fast lanes on our phone now, or?
It's at Knott's and Carowinds, so I would assume it's going to be chain wide.
I knew that we saw new ones, but I couldn't remember if it was like confirmed phone.
We'll find out soon, because Kings Island's going to be opening very soon, so I think that's going to be our next test
Kings
subject.
Island and Dorney both have previews, and then Kings Island opens this week. We know that Iron Menace over at Dorney is going to be a single-use Fastlane ride, so I guess we'll probably find that out actually before Kings Island opens, because Media Day for Iron Menace is before Kings Island opens. So maybe we'll have more information on that soon. But Ryan made it clear to us that they're trying to standardize across the chain with the single-use Fastlane, so I think it's very likely.
If he said that, then yeah, I believe it. It's going to come chain-wide. Which, I mean, honestly, I like the option to purchase single-use Fastlane because, like, there may be some days in a world I didn't have Fastlane. I would want to pay $150 to go to a park I'd only go for, like, a couple hours. Yeah. But if it's a really long line, I'd like to have the option at least to pay, the 15, 20, however much it is, just to get the one skip.
Kyla and I have talked about that for when we go on the 12th. Fastlane Plus is $115 that day. So we might, because that's the cheapest it can possibly get all season, we might cop it that day. But I'm also like, well, if Fastlane Plus is cheap that day, single-use Fastlanes might be cheap that day as well.
So hard maybe to say. I mean, it's more likely they're going to be cheaper. But I think we won't really know. Especially Top Thrill 2, if it's such high demand, it'll probably be like peak right off the bat at like $30 or whatever.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. But I guess if you think about it, like how much I make per hour at work and then a 4-hour wait, like I'm profiting off a single-use Fastlane if it's $30. You know what I mean? Like I'm profiting quite a bit.
Speaking of single-use Fastlane, when I was at Carowinds, I didn't realize this, but people actually, if you have the Prestige Pass, you actually like scan your pass at that Fastlane scanner, and that's how they get that single-use.
Oh, I did not know that.
I was about to ask actually if we thought they were still going to do the little receipt papers, because at Cedar Point, I've talked about this on the podcast before, unless that was a lost episode. I've gotten like 3 or 4 rides in a row off one of those receipts because they just never take it. Especially at Maverick. They would never take it.
Yeah, there was a day I went up and like Val Raven. It was like towards the end of the day, but still like we walked up and they just didn't take it.
SeaWorld is chronic for that. They never take it. When I go to Busch Tampa, the one quick queue is worth its weight in gold.
They're supposed to like scan your phone, aren't they?
No, they give you like it's like a little paper receipt, like all of their coupons and their passes. Yeah.
When I went to BGT and did one quick queue, no, I think I had unlimited, but it was one on Gwazi. They were supposed to be scanning our phones, but it was literally such a dead day that we were only using quick queue to not have to walk through all the switchbacks, like to get the shorter walks basically is what it was. And they like weren't scanning until a little later in the day. It finally picked up and they started scanning. But yeah, we were doing it all on our phones.
Actually, I had a related question. So Kev, I know you have all season Fastlane and you went to Carowinds. How does that work for the scanners? Were there any issues, or do you seem to use them no problem?
There were, for the most part, there weren't too many issues. There were a couple times where it still like scanned red, but the person was just like, "Oh, just come in anyway." So there are still some glitches there, but I would say for the most part, it like scanned green when I scanned it. So,
which is good, but that's another thing to consider: is everyone that's going to have Fastlane on Top Thrill 2 on opening day, how many of those are going to be bad? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting kind of nervous of how close they're getting to this ride opening before they tell us these things. Like, they don't even feel confident with it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like they're like, shit, we gotta put this information out. Like, it's finally time. We've delayed it for months and months and months. Same thing with the pass holder previews, kind of. And I feel like part of that was they expected an uproar from Prestige pass holders only getting 1 day, while Gold pass holders get 3.
Also, if you have a keychain and are a Gold pass holder, you can go both days.
That's a good
Prestige
point.
Yeah,
people
Prestige,
can only ride
screwed.
once.
McLovin got screwed.
Yep, but it's fine. I just gave it to one of my friends, so at least I have some company.
Yeah, I unfortunately cannot go because that is the day that Kyla's family gets to town for my wedding, and we have to pick her cousin up at the airport. But yeah, it's kind of we touched on that last or 2 weeks ago or last week or whenever, so I don't want to go into that too much. But I'm gonna ask a question that I think a lot of Cedar Point fans would hate. But do you think Top Thrill 2 should have possibly been a virtual queue?
I don't know if Cedar Fair has the tech to support a virtual queue.
But
like
that aside, do you think the launch of this ride, no pun intended, should logistically would have done better with the virtual queue?
On my personal beliefs, knowing what we know now, no. Because I think virtual queues just lead to even more guest headache than it's worth. Like, think of all the drama that happened with Rise of Resistance going full virtual queue. And even, like, Guardians and Tron to an extent as well. It's like you have to game the system and you need to, like, know all this information, and no one's allowed to even just, like, have the right to go walk up and wait for it. It's like, because I'm always the belief that if you are a paying guest at a park, you have the right to walk up to any ride you want as long as it's not broken down. If you're basically like, hey, especially like going back to Rise of Resistance, I paid $150 to go to Hollywood Studios. If I don't know the game of virtual queues and I go to Rise of Resistance and say, nope, sorry, you have to know the virtual queue. Oh, you can try like learning the system at 1 p.m., but then everyone and their mother gets it before you. You don't even get to ride like the flagship ride there. I'm just like, I don't think that, or ethically, I guess is a better term. I don't think that's right.
So what about like a hybrid of what they did with COVID, where you can walk up and get a return time, except do that virtually?
That's even worse. I mean, ignoring the fact that those like cards or whatever they were called, like already were a COVID issue because everyone would just line up to get the card to get into the line, and then you had to wait even more to actually get in the line. I don't think that a hybrid will work either.
That's how Universal does their ADA. You walk up, and if the express line is more than 30 minutes, you get a return time. And if the express time is under 30 minutes, you just hop in the express line.
Which is good, but you keep in mind that back during the COVID days, when you wanted to go ride Steel Vengeance, you had to queue up for that line, and that line would easily be a good solid, like, 10 to 20 minutes just to get a return time, and it's possible that some people were even just, like, waved off because they ran out of return time cards.
Taylor, what were you going to say?
I have a weirdness with return times because, like, having the problems I do, that was part of why I never got ADA before, is because I thought ADA, like, you walked up and got a return, and I was like, I can't walk up somewhere and then have to walk away and come back later. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just too much stress on my body to do all that. So I'm like, I don't like return times for that. Like, that put me off of getting ADA for so long, because that's either how they were doing it or I was misled in how they did it before at Kings Island. But yeah, I don't, to me, I guess it depends on where the return is too.
I would say, fair. And again, I'm going to keep pulling the Europe card, but Europa Park actually had one of the best virtual queue systems, because all it was, it's basically like Disney's Fast Pass on your phone, but for free. So you just go on your phone, you can have up to 3 rides booked at a time. It goes live in the instant the park opens for the day, like public opening, and then you can start firing off on the ride you want. So like Wodon, I'll be like, okay, park opens at 10 a.m. I'm going to go like, okay, 10:30. Like a few seconds later, 10:45. And then like it keeps going through the virtual queue system. It's not overly complicated to learn, and it works very well. But even if you don't get those 3 free skips every day, you could just walk up to the line and wait in line anyway. I think that's a good hybrid, but that would involve the fact they don't have any paid skip the line systems, which is not what Cedar Fair wants. Got to get that coin.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's definitely going to be some growing pains ahead, and I think the way that it is now, it's just there's really no sense in having like a virtual queue or anything like that. You just got to say, okay, we're just going to let this happen, see what happens, and then just go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's really all you can do at this point.
I agree.
I guess you're probably right. I just think that this was terribly planned, locker-wise, logistics-wise, and the single-use fast lane is clearly the ace in the hole that they want everybody to go for. Obviously, Fastlane Plus doesn't qualify for multiple rides, so they're pushing people towards single lane. I think that's clear, because you're not pushing people towards all season. That's a luxury product. I mean, so is single use Fastlane. You know what I mean, though. Like, that's a high grade luxury product, whereas a single use Fastlane could be considered more of an impulse purchase luxury product. You walk up, look at it, and go, "Oh, that's a 3-hour wait, but I can pay $30 to skip that 3-hour wait. I'm gonna do that."
Yeah, that's the primary, because 99% of people do not go to Cedar Point enough to warrant an all-season fast lane, because you'd have to go a lot to really make that valuable to yourself.
Yeah, like 10 visits, give or take. I guess it depends what time of year you go. Like, if you go during Hollow weekends, you're getting more value than if you go during the middle of May.
Yeah, you're guaranteed 10 times and you're fine. But it's just like most people will opt for the single use because they only go to Cedar Point once a year, and they're going to be like, I don't want to wait in a 3-hour line for the new dragster. I'm just going to pay the $30 to skip the line and not even think about any like full wristband or all season add-on. It's just the cheap and easy way to get out of it.
Yeah, it's also instant gratification. I mean, sure, you can walk into any shop and buy a band, like an all-day band, but you're already at Dragster, and there's already a little station right there that's going to sell me the single use. Why not just buy it? Despite the fact that if I pay $30, if I pay like 3 times this, I can also go ride Steel Vengeance and Millennium Force and Valraven without having to pay individually. Like, I break even at that point, but I'm already right here.
Exactly, and people don't think about break-even points that much.
Yeah.
Like, the average general public guest is going to see $30 is less than $120. And so they're not, unless it's like a stupid slam day and like there's 2-hour waits for everything, that's when people buy Fastlane wristbands. But if it's just one ride that's giving them a headache, they'll just do the $30 and call it a day.
And that's why the meal deals make a killing at Cedar Point.
Yes, sir.
To be fair, they're a good value if you don't have an all-season meal plan. Last year there was a deal for like $50-something, and it was all-day dining and parking and park ticket. And it was like, why would I tell anybody coming to this park to get anything else besides this deal? It's a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, their preseason combo deals are awesome.
It wasn't even preseason.
Anyway.
It was like July 4th weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it was either the day of July 4th or it was July 3rd.
They do that for like out-of-state people. Like, I see that like the Michigan deals are actually very common around here. But I've also seen them like Pittsburgh deals. I don't know if Buffalo has like New York deals or whatever.
No, which is funny because a lot of people here, like, anytime I tell someone I like roller coasters, they're like, "Oh, have you been to Cedar Point? I love Cedar Point." I'm like, "Yes, I go to Cedar Point more times a year than you know." Is there anything else about Top Thrill 2 that Taylor, do you want to rant about ADA?
Oh, it's at the exit, and I know that there's not room to have a separate line, but being at the exit will always annoy me. Just in general, don't like having to walk up the exit, especially once you like stare somebody down that's been waiting in line for 4 hours, and you're just like, I can't stand, so I'm gonna go now. But I'm gonna go sit in the sun for 4 hours now to wait my turn.
Yeah, the worst part about Cedar Fair ADA, in my experience, is when you're boarding from the exit, you have to look the person in the eye that you're stealing their seat, like, as you walk towards them.
Yeah,
and that's so, like, I always feel bad in a way.
That's why a lot of the time I don't ask for a specific row, because, like, unless there's only one person in line for the front or the back, I just don't, I feel bad. I feel too bad to ask.
And keep in mind that Top Thrill 2 is an unload station, so I'm guarantee you're going to board at unload like Millennium, and then you're going to advance to load, and then you're going to piss off the person that's waiting for your line to load.
Just stare at them as you're pulling in.
Just wave, smile,
I've
and
done
wave.
that at Millennium Force. Like I got front row exit pass on Momilly, and you go in the load station. People will curse at you.
They never let me in the load station. They always send me through the magic gate when I go up for Millie. And I just want one time to get to go through the unload station. I just feel like that would be so nice.
Last year, opening day, it was me, both Kevins, and Kyla taking up the front car of Millennium, and we got in the load station. But they were brand new employees, and they sent like 4 trains front car loaded in a row, and we get up there, and the people looked at us like they wanted to kill us.
I remember that.
It was terribly funny. Taylor, do you wish that Cedar Fair's ADA was more similar to Universal's, where they just send you through the express line?
Yes, no, it depends. It really depends. Because, like, Hershey, you get their fast track, and
yeah,
usually that's fine. But I've also only ever been to Hershey on days where it's raining and there's nobody at the park anyway.
True. Storm Runner's merge point is terrible.
I can't stand in a line for more than 15 minutes. Like, that's my breaking point. And sometimes fast lane is more than 15 minutes. And sometimes, and a lot of the time, my problem is, like, Orion, for example, you go down, then you go back up, then you go down, and then you go back up the stairs. I can't do that. I need to go up the, like, one single flight of stairs and be like, okay, I'm good. And for a lot of the times, even if there's, like, no wait, I'll still go up the exit because I just can't go the up and down. So that's also a problem with the fast lane way. I just feel like it should be its own line. That's the only thing. I feel like that's such a simple thing when you're designing new rides, not retrofits of rides.
As somebody with ADA, I see the benefit, but as somebody who thinks logistically, I think that's more of a nightmare. I mean, you're building a whole queue for, say, 2 to 5% of the guests in attendance. That's a lot of money to invest for that. And then you have
you done it on, like, Valraven and, like, Maverick, where it's, like, you're still going in the exit?
That's true.
But then it splits off from the exit, so it's not a whole new line. It's the exit still. It's just the exit plus a new line.
At least it's not Dominator at King's Dominion.
I haven't been there yet.
You go up this sketchy elevator, and then you're just, like, standing in the corner. Do you know what I'm talking about, McLovin?
Yeah, I do. I never ridden in it, but it looks
so
very sketchy.
And then you go up, and it opens, and you're just kind of awkwardly in the corner of the station with everybody staring at you. It's interesting.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think Top Thrill 2, when I look at the exit setup, it's actually, like, the opposite problem of Valraven, because basically, like, the exit has 2 ways to get up the exit. You either go through the photos, or there's a separate exit platform, which I assume that's going to be ADA specific, or if the photo booth is closed for some reason. The problem is that they merge when you keep going up the exit to the unload platform. So there's, like, no room for an ADA line to develop. And if you were to have the line develop in that little, like, exit way, you'd literally have to wait for everyone else to exit through the photo booth and then bring those people up the exit ramp to the unload station, which is just inefficient.
Sorry, I'm looking at this tweet that Kev just linked.
Yeah, I got a little distracted.
I'm sorry.
I was like, is everyone offended by what I just said?
No, sorry.
No.
Kev just linked a tweet in the chat, and it's pretty funny. Also, the way Tony's face melts in that video is really funny as well.
It has me more excited. That was part of why I ended up getting the charity ticket. I was like, this video, I was like, I can't wait. And, like, I want to be able to ride it. Hopefully at least, like, twice during the charity event.
Yeah. I wonder how many tickets they're selling for that.
They're sold out. I know that.
Yeah, but at Cedar Point, that could be 5 or 5,000.
That's, I know it didn't sell out until, like, 2 that day or something. It was a lot longer than I thought it would be.
They're advertising multiple rides on Top Thrill 2, so I'm guessing it's only capped at, like, 1,000.
Yeah.
Well, how long is the event?
3 hours.
Yeah, 1,000 makes sense. I also wonder, at Boardwalk Preview Day, Wild Mouse went down for most of it, and then once they got it up and running, they like stayed open until it was supposed to end at 1. I was there till like 2:30.
Yeah, but the problem with the charity event is an hour after is the keychain and prestige.
I know. That's why I'm like, I wonder if maybe they'll extend it a little bit if they have to, but yeah. Because I know that some people are going to both the charity and the prestige, and I imagine they're going to have to flush everyone out of the park.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to have to
walk out and
flush
get right
everyone
back.
out.
It's like the one SpongeBob meme where it's like, come again, sir. I'm getting back in line.
Or like the Simpsons gif where he walks in, puts his hat on the thing, turns around, takes his hat off, and walks out.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're just gonna like funnel everybody out, and then I'm just gonna get back in line.
Yeah, because there's gonna be a big line at the Magnum Gate for the Prestige event.
Did it say for the charity where we're going in? Probably, or
I think it's the same area. I think we're just going to the Magnum Gate.
Okay.
Speaking of Magnum Gate, that's going to be the 5,000 IQ play. Stay at Hotel Breakers, get to Magnum Gate, run. I mean, obviously you're not allowed to run at Cedar Point, but run.
So
walk
I guess
very fastly.
That's actually a good transition to what I think would be a good point is what is the recommended strategy to hit Top Thrill 2 with a minimal wait? And I'm not saying like, oh, go on the deadest days or go on like a cloudy day.
Yeah, you mean like on
obvious.
a standard operating day, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
I feel like later in the day is best, because then like everybody's tired.
We could adopt McLovin's Steve strategy, which is like 6 to 8 o'clock when people who are waiting for night rides haven't got in line yet, but people who already rode it like have left the park already.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I mean, granted, I have Fastlane, so that's peak time for Fastlane because all the single uses are already gone. So it's just the all season left, which again is not a very big portion of the population. Yeah. So best case, you just lap, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, like I think that evening time is pretty decent, unless you haven't ridden it before, in which case you might just have to sacrifice your early entry just to wait in line. Hard to say.
Oh, I forgot about early entry. I wonder if they're going to let you get back there. Because I know sometimes they like block off the like certain parts of the park during early entry so they don't have to staff them, basically. I wonder if they're going to do a running of the bowls situation, rope drop for Top Thrill 2 year 1.
They haven't done that in years. I think it's basically the entire park is open. You just need to walk wherever a ride is actually, open. Like, if it was 9 a.m. and I wanted to, like, walk from the main gate all the way up Frontier Trail to Maverick, I could. I'm not saying I would, but I could.
Yeah, that's like, because there's usually, like, a lot of people lined up at Vengeance, like, before park open.
Right, exactly.
I've done that. It's not worth it.
Vengeance in the most hyper hybrids in the morning are just wait. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's slow.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, hey, now the new toy is the new Dragster, which I might make an argument isn't going to be significantly different morning versus evening.
Hypothetically speaking, you're right. They just need to add more juice if it's running slow. It's literally power in, power out with LSMs. Yep. So, and obviously there's sensors. So if, you get a low rollback and you need to get up to 101, you got 700 feet of launch track to get to 101. Like, you're going to get there.
Yep.
I do wonder if maybe on cold mornings they'll like boost it to like 105 or like a little bit faster, to push you up the spike more. But we'll see, I guess.
I will say it looks like that the test runs that they've been doing at Top Thrill seem to be going faster than Dragster normally does. Again, we haven't seen it fully weighted with riders, but it seems to be not flying over the top hat, but definitely going faster than Dragster usually did.
Fully weighted will maintain its speed over the top hat more.
But then you'd have to reduce the speed. Because you're right, then it's going to go whoop, and it's going to fly right over.
Imagine that speed launch with a full train. The ejector in the back row would be like borderline illegal. Literally borderline illegal.
Yeah, especially when you're spiraling down, fully ejected.
All
from
those
your
laterals.
seat.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Do it, Cedar Point.
Do it.
Coaster Mania, 130 mile an hour launch. That'd be insane.
Oh man,
that would be crazy.
You watch, they're gonna do something like that. I know they are.
I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I would never expect it.
No, you expect the unexpected.
I mean, how are they gonna? Well, I guess they kind of shat the bed, in my opinion, with the keychains. But how are they going to top the keychains next year? Because Cedar Point, they always have to top themselves somehow.
Well, the funny thing is that I remember Tony Clark has gone on record by basically saying, yeah, when we debuted the keychains at Coaster Mania, we had no idea what they were supposed to do. He was just like, hey, give them something, I guess, because they hadn't thought that much about the ride. So
that's funny.
That's what I find funny about how they handled the keychain situation. It was like a spur of the moment. Hey, give them something. We don't know what to do with it. Just throw them in Prestige, I guess. So
I want to brag about this then. Tony didn't know, but the first thing I said when that happened, and McLovin couldn't corroborate this because I was standing next to him, it was dead silent when he said, you want to keep these? And I looked at McLovin and said, first to ride. Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. And it's a first to ride keychain, so I feel good.
Yeah, fairly close. Honestly, I think it would have been better if the keychains were with the charity event, but I understand why they didn't.
I agree. One other thing I want to touch on and kind of discuss before we get into questions here is Valley Scare is coming back, which is fine. I'm not a big haunt guy. I'll go to them, but I don't really do houses or anything. I just like the atmosphere. But 2 years ago or last year, a representative from Valley Fair said they need to upgrade their infrastructure before they can have the demand that a new coaster would bring them. So basically they need to invest before they can get a new coaster. I'm wondering if Valley Scare is kind of a test of their infrastructure, because Valley Fair is not exactly the most popular park per se. So they kind of need an event, in my opinion at least, to get crowds in and see where they really need to invest and when they can kind of put on the back burner. I just wanted to kind of pick your guys' brain on that.
So, I don't know much about Valley Fair, but when I saw you tweet that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because, if they just aren't used to having people, it's kind of... I don't know. I don't know what's around Valley Fair. What other parks? Or are they kind of in, a dead zone?
Mall of America, and that's about it.
So... basically a dead zone.
Yeah.
I mean, you have parks within easy driving distance, like Adventureland and Mount Olympus.
Quantify easy driving distance.
Within
normal
4
person.
hours.
Well, normal person and enthusiast are kind of,
Yeah.
True. I will say, Josh, I actually disagree with you. I don't think this is because of the infrastructure for a new coaster. I actually think it's a lot simpler than that. Is that the Tricks and Treats Fall Fest just didn't perform well financially, so they're bringing back Valley Scare to get everyone back.
That's entirely possible. I'm not gonna deny that possibility. I think it could be a 2-for-1 special though.
Which is true. I mean, I guess we need to know how this Valley Scare is going to differ from years past.
Because
that event's been going on for years and years.
When was the last Valley Scare?
2021, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I think they gave it 2 years for the Tricks and Treats Fall Fest family event. Didn't perform well. And they're like, bring back Valley Scare. You got to deal with the crappy teenagers, but you get more money that way. So
they have a chaperone policy, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like they were one of the weird ones that didn't get one.
No, I think Michigan's Adventure and Cedar Point were the only two that didn't. And Wonderland because of Canadian laws, I think.
I'm going to do research while I'm on their
laws
thing.
I think because there is no way that they wouldn't know that Wonderland was the worst offender of
I know.
Teenagers at parks.
I know that and you know that.
Yeah.
And Wonderland, like we've talked about many times, there's a reason I go to Wonderland once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, while Taylor's researching.
Okay, yeah, they do have a chaperone policy. No more than 10 guests under the age of 15.
Those policies all carry over to this year, yes?
Yes, as far as we're aware.
So, yeah.
Because they technically never announced it.
I mean, I think they worked well enough to where Cedar Fair's happy with keeping them. I mean, you when you have a chaperone policy, your attendance technically does take a hit, but your guest experience improves. And not to mention that your security people are having to deal with less BS. So I can see that
traditionally. How'd that work for Kennywood? Anyway.
That's not Cedar Fair. That's a different story altogether.
That was such an unnecessary shot at Kennywood. Anyway, let's hop into questions. That's a little shorter episode today, but you know what? That's fine, because I'm busy. CedarKev, who's this guy?
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm actually going to make you answer your own question, Kev.
What park? I didn't think about it. Answer the question.
There you. I think there's a few good answers you could take here. What is a park that you don't mind visiting, even if you don't ride any coasters?
I have an answer for this.
I have a few. I'm going to pick a different one.
I have an answer as well, but I'll let Kev go first.
I mean, for me, the first thing that I think of is like Epcot, or like Disney World in general. It's just one of those things where like there's so much stuff to do like outside of like the rides. Like you could make a whole day out of just not doing the rides at all. Even Universal to an extent too. More so Universal Studios. But yeah, I would say when I initially thought of that question, I was like, I think Disney and Universal are probably my picks. So
those are good picks. IOA was one of the ones on my list, so Disney's also great though. Taylor?
I'm gonna go with Kings Island, which is like really like silly basic because it's my home park. But like I don't know, I feel like opening weekend I always say it's like for vibes, not rides. Just because I mean, and it's so fun to just sit around the park and people watch and look at things. And I know Josh has played hide and seek at Kings Island, but I don't know if you guys have played hide and seek at Kings Island. But like, it's just so fun to run around the park and like not do the park and just like see like, oh, this is a weird area of the park, and like just appreciate parts that you're not usually in, while also playing hide and seek.
That reminds me of an idea, and we'll get to me and McLovin's answer in a minute, but last year I had an idea that I really want to try to do next year, which is getting a one weekend Airbnb coaster content house where we pick a park and get like a 10-person Airbnb and invite creators like of all sizes just to make content together at a park and in a house basically. I think that'd be a really fun experiment to see what we could kind of come up with when we have 10 people in one place to bounce stuff off of and collaborate with and stuff.
That would be cool.
So it's basically just a vlog of every Coaster Crew event.
Yeah,
basically. Something like that. Yeah. McLovin, what's your park? And I swear to God, if you say Europa Park,
that was my European option.
Of course, it was.
If we're going American, I'm definitely going Epcot. Epcot's like the vibe park.
Yeah. You could also, in my opinion, argue Hollywood Studios because there's only 9 rides there. But
Hollywood Studios doesn't have a whole lot to do outside of the rides. Epcot, like, you could walk around World Showcase, get a bunch of drinks, never touch a single ride, and be fine.
It's true. I'm going to go in a very similar vein, but a different chain in a different state, and say BGW. There's a lot of small... Or Silver Dollar City. Both parks that there's a lot of stuff you can just walk around and wander your way into, and, you know, hey, there's a show happening over there. I'm going to go watch that. And then you walk somewhere else. Like at Silver Dollar City, you can just go watch a blacksmith make something or all that kind of stuff. Those are my 2 answers.
I'd love to even lump Dollywood in with those as well.
I've never been.
I would say Dollywood actually has more stuff to do outside of rides than Silver Dollar City. Not to say Silver Dollar City is bad by any means, but
I haven't been to Silver Dollar City in probably 15 to 17 years. Their biggest, most baddest ride was Powder Keg. Obviously, they have, Time Traveler and Outlaw Run and stuff now. So they've kind of shifted a little bit. But Yeah.
Josh, you said you've never been to Dollywood?
I'm not. It's one of those parks that's like, I'm gonna make it there this year, and then something always happens. You know? Maybe next year. My answer for BGW. I'm gonna lock that in, even though Silver Dollar City is a good pick. BGW is just, it's such a weirdly laid out park that when you're walking through it, you're like, there's so many things to walk past and stuff.
I'd say Tampa's also really good if you're just into zoos, because
I
it's basically just half
Tampa,
a zoo.
Yeah, I considered Tampa. Their train is arguably the best train I've ever been on at a park.
I agree.
And I haven't ridden their Sky Ride, but I've heard it's phenomenal.
I haven't either. I'm gonna try to do that when I go back in December.
For just $5, you too can ride the BGT Sky Ride in one way. Yeah. SeaWorld had some good Christmas shows. SeaWorld Orlando. Anyway, okay, I'm going on for this too long. Keith Marut. There we go. That's how we're going to say that. What tips do you have for a roller coaster road trip going from Cedar Point to Silver Dollar City, then Texas, Holiday World, and Kansas City?
That's what I interpreted it as, but I don't know.
So is it like you're going from Cedar Point to Silver Dollar City, and then what you can lump around that? Is that the question?
Well, Texas was in there too. So it says Cedar Point to Silver Dollar City, then Texas, Holiday World, and Kansas City. My first tip is change your order.
I don't know if it's in that order.
I mean, you could make it work in that order, technically.
You could. I would...
but I guess it really depends on how many days you have.
Yeah.
But I'd say, like, you know, Holiday World, Kings Island, Kentucky Kingdom, Six Flags St. Louis, Silver Dollar City, Frontier City, Six Flags Over Texas, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, SeaWorld San Antonio, Worlds of Fun, and then maybe like Adventureland and Lost Island if you can swing back up that way.
See,
but at that point, you'd also add Six Flags Great America.
I would do this totally differently. I would start in Texas, road trip up through Oklahoma, do Frontier City, up to Kansas City, or up to Branson, and then up to Kansas City, swing by St. Louis, up to Great America, down to Indiana Beach, down to Cincinnati for Kings Island, and then end at Cedar Point.
I also think it depends on where they're from, too.
Yeah, and because like Josh, your way is one way, not a round trip.
That's true. Well, if they said they want to, they're going from Cedar Point?
Going from Cedar Point to Silver Dollar City. I feel like the then Texas Holiday World in Kansas City, like those have to be like just separate things they want to do.
Anyways, my general tip for trips is get all park meal passes if you're going to multiple parks in the same chain. That can be a lifesaver. It can save you so much money, and on a trip this big, you will probably break even, especially if you're going to multiple Six Flags parks. Their meal pass is so cheap.
I think Six Flags has a deal on their passes right now, too, depending on which park you're going to first.
Yes.
They do have a deal where it's like $100 for Diamond Pass, which is good, but their dining plans have gone up a lot lately. They're now matching Cedar Fair prices, like $120, $150 or whatever.
Last time I checked, it was not that high. But, yes, tip, Six Flags, you have to activate at your home park. Cedar Fair, you do not. So if you buy your pass through Canada's Wonderland, for example, you get about a 30% discount because of the conversion rate. If you don't plan on going to any Cedar Point exclusive events, big caveat there.
That's a big asterisk, yeah.
Budget for gas, budget for hotels. If you can bring multiple people with you to split the bill, that goes way further than you could imagine, honestly.
Have a hotel's, rewards account.
Yes.
I didn't have a choice rewards for a long time, and that's a game changer.
Yes.
Wyndham and Choice are your two cheapest options.
Do you have both, McLovin?
I have Wyndham Rewards. I used to have Choice, Cedar Fair at a deal, but I never really touched them.
I also use Wyndham. Did you book your hotel for my wedding yet?
Yes, I did.
I want to know which one you chose, out of curiosity.
One in Niagara Falls.
That makes sense. Kev, do you have a loyalty to a hotel chain? Yes, you're Holiday Inn, correct?
Yeah, I'm an IHG person.
He's the IHG boy.
Yes.
And a tip that I know Kev would give if he could: Cracker Barrel opens early. It's cheap and it's good breakfast.
Exactly.
Yes. No, 100%. If you don't have like a Sheetz or a Wawa or a Buc-ee's around you, Cracker Barrel is a very good sit-down breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah, but kind of like similar to what everyone else was saying. Definitely, try to weigh out if it makes more sense to like get a season pass or to get daily tickets, and also make sure to get as much as you can bought ahead of time, especially with like parking too. Like if a park offers like parking online, you should definitely do that ahead of time, because more often than not you're going to be paying a hefty premium if you just show up.
And with Six Flags, some of their passes include preferred parking. You have to book it the day before on their website. You can't just show up and use that benefit.
Good to know.
Yes.
Also, keep an eye on the weather. If it is storming, you may want to redo your plans. If it's just light rain, go to the park anyway.
Yes, rain days, depending on the park, I'll say, but rain days are goated. People leave, you can get a ton of rides. And usually rides, unless it's like Orion in the rain, don't ride Orion in the rain. It's gonna hurt. But like a light rain on like a nice Mystic ride is wonderful.
Yep.
And don't, if you're going to Michigan's Adventure, don't worry about the rain. They'll run shivering timbers anyway.
They'll hydroplane timbers for you.
And if you're going to Darien Lake, don't.
Wait, I thought
I'm kidding.
I thought I had to come to Darien Lake.
You do.
Okay.
However, you get the credits and never come back.
No. Hey, you're coming back this year, sir. Hopefully.
The plan anyway, yes.
I'm a huge car snacks person. Think out your car snacks. Don't just get like all the same thing. And make sure you get like macaroni cups and ramen cups and stuff you want to eat at your hotel. Because sometimes, like if you stay in Mason, everything closes when the park closes.
Yeah.
I don't know other cities, but I know that's the case in Mason, and it's very annoying.
And pack a mini cooler with a bunch of drinks because you can get free ice at your hotels.
I've never thought of that one, actually. Look at the benefits of staying on property. If hotel has on property, it may or may not be worth it, depending where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, Waffle House.
I've got all the food tips.
Yeah. Bring Waffle House to Tekken 8. Let's go.
Also, look at what coaster in your park has the worst capacity and go there first. It's probably not going to be the best ride by far. It's probably going to be a Wild Mouse or something like that. But if you want to grab that credit, grab it first.
And
don't be afraid if you have no idea what to expect going into this park. Go on Reddit, go on a forum, go on YouTube. There's plenty of resources people can tell you how to tackle a park.
Honestly, if you tweet tips for in the name of a park, we will find you.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You'll get more answers than you want.
And if it's obscure, I can pick up.
Yeah. Especially if it's in Europe.
Or at least one section of Europe.
Or if you need any tips. If you need any tips on random FECs, McLovin's your guy.
Oh, yeah. If you need to add +1s to your trip,
I was about to say,
I could be that guy.
I was about to say, I've literally talked to McLovin before, and I'll be like, hey, you want to go to this park? And he'll be like, yeah, but if you go 40 minutes north, you can grab a +1. I'm like, I didn't ask about a +1. I asked about this park.
Do I not both?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's probably the best summation of our off-the-cuff tips.
Don't get souvenir bottles, because somebody might steal it.
Paper cup plan for the win.
Yeah. And just
unless
lugging
you're Six
it around.
Flags and you're forced to use a bottle. But the nice thing about Six Flags parks is that they have bottle holders almost universally. So
not at Darien Lake. Anyway, Darien Lake's hardly a Six Flags park. Next question from Coaster Dudes. What did we do for the eclipse? I feel like we touched on that a little bit. I went outside with my lightsaber and swung it around.
I went outside with all my coworkers from work and just stared at the sky getting gray, but never fully dark, because we weren't in full totality. We were pretty close though, like 97%.
Me and Kev were 100%. It got dark fast. It was interesting.
Yeah, it literally felt like nighttime.
It was so like it slowly got dark, and then it was just like whoosh. It was like so fast, but it was genuinely like stunning, like watching it get dark and watching the sun disappear through the clouds. But still, actually, it was so cloudy here that we could see the edges, but we didn't need the eclipse glasses because it was diffused by all of the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool. Taylor, did you do anything?
I sat on my porch with a foldable chair and I watched it get dark. And then I watched it be suddenly bright again.
That's the best Midwest thing you could have done.
Yeah.
Another question from Coaster Dudes. Have you ever driven past a park and stopped just to ride a coaster before continuing on your trip? They did this with Fury and it was awesome. What coaster would cause you to stop?
I did this with Wildcats Revenge after the Haunt RIP party at Dorney. As I specifically got a Hershey pass to go ride Wildcats on my way home to break up the drive a little bit.
I forgot you did that. Break it up. You're an hour into your 7-hour drive.
That's still breaking it up and not making it 7 hours straight. I went and I rode Wildcats Revenge twice. I rode Laugh Track. I rode Lightning Racer. And I rode Coco Cruiser. And the monorail. And Cup Fusion. And then I went home.
I've done this a couple times with Dorney. I actually rode Steel Force with Kev, and then I rode Talon, and then I went on to Great Adventure. And I also stopped once just to ride Talon and Demon Drop. So I've done it twice at Dorney.
Shocked Talon hasn't walked through here like she normally does.
Talon is the cat.
Talon is my cat.
Actual. Or just Jen. You secretly live with Jen.
Secretly. The amount of times I've looked at Talon and just yelled Talon at Dorney Park at her, and she's just been very confused, and I love it.
To answer the second part of the question, I think Air Force One would probably make me stop. Especially it's a park. Actually, Ravine Flyer 2 as well. I didn't stop immediately, technically. Drove past it with my dad back before I was an enthusiast. We're like, whoa, that's really cool. And I drive past Erie a lot, so next time I was like, I'm going to go to Waldameer, and I only ride Ravine Flyer 2 when I'm at Waldameer.
So for me, it's usually the Cedar Fair parks. I've done it at Dorney for sure. I've done that before. I know
King's Dominion with Kev too.
I was about to say that King's Dominion, definitely done that. And what I like to do, I don't usually like to be like, okay, I'm going to drive past this park, stop for a minute, and get a coaster ride, unless I happen to get a meal with it, because then I feel like it's even better.
Yeah.
What I actually like to do more is if I am, I leave from work, let's say 5 o'clock, let's say, and I'm heading out on a road trip. We'll stop at Cedar Point on the way, on that Friday night or whatever, and close the park. And then grab a hotel and then continue on my way on that Saturday.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times. I'll also, if I'm out near Darien Lake, I'll just go and ride Predator and then leave. I've done that multiple times as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, King's Dominion. We got to King's Dominion, rode a couple things, got dinner with Kev, rode I-305 and left. And then went to King's Dominion with Kev the next day.
It's the best way to do it.
For Coaster Crew. Kev, have you ever done this?
For me, I don't really do it too often. The one thing that I can definitely remember is when I was in Tennessee for work, and it was actually my first time going to Dollywood. I had just gotten off of work early, and I was like, oh, no, I'm going to try and get on Lightning Rod. And it was raining that day, but they were still running Lightning Rod, so got 6 rides on it and then left.
That's funny.
But
can't go wrong with that.
Okay, last question here is from Dawson, aka Taylor's Boothang.
Why do you always have to say it like that? Every time.
Boothang.
Because I know you guys in person, and I know how, you're obviously loving, but you're not, really affectionate about it, so Boothang is so funny to me.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Dawson said best flat ride in any North American amusement park. I have an answer, but I've never got to ride it yet. But I have a number one bucket list flat ride in North America.
I also have a number one bucket list one.
This is tough. I think I have an answer, but Josh, I'm curious what your bucket list one is.
I'm going to make you guess, and when I tell you what park it is in, you're going to be like, that doesn't help. There's so many good flat rides there. Canada's Wonderland.
Sledgehammer?
Yes! I want to ride Sledgehammer, and it's always down!
I've only ridden it once, and I've been to Wonderland like 5-6 times in my life.
Exactly! It's always down every time I'm there.
It's good. I don't think it's like the best flat ride in the park, but it's definitely a really good ride.
Darien Lake Sky Coaster is really good, if that counts. It's like a 200-foot almost sky coaster. I don't know if that counts technically as a flat ride.
I think that counts.
They have a good sky coaster. It's over the water. It's like 185 feet or whatever.
I think my number one flat is Tidal Surge at SeaWorld San Antonio because I absolutely love Screamin' Swings. So I'm so happy I have Skyhawk at my home park, and every time that I go to a park with Screamin' Swing, I make it a point to ride it.
You excited for Serengeti Flyer? Is that what it's called?
I actually went to Busch in March, and it was closed for maintenance. It was like the one day I went, and it was closed for maintenance. I think they were doing like some restraint switch outs or something, but
That's
yeah.
not important. Let me ride it anyway.
Yeah,
Kev?
I think for me, Serengeti Flyer is definitely my favorite. Skyhawk is definitely ride it every time I go there, but just being able to experience like a newer Screamin' Swing, it was really cool, and it goes like really high and super fast. So yeah, that's my favorite. I don't really do a whole lot of flat rides. So.
Taylor,
flats have grown on me a lot this last year. So my favorite that I have done is Enterprise at Dorney, but my bucket list one is Tundra Twister at Canada's Wonderland.
I told myself I was going to ride that last year. I didn't do it. What is Enterprise?
It's like, Soul Spin at Kings Island?
Yes.
It's like the old model of that, where it's like a cage that you sit in.
Oh, a witch's wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Witch's Wheel.
Yeah.
We have one of those at Darien Lake.
I like sliding around in the cage.
Yeah, those are always fun. And Fun Spot Orlando actually reopened theirs.
Oh,
speaking of Fun Spot Orlando, they teased possibly getting a Raptor. We'll see if that happens.
I don't know if I trust them, but that park does need a Raptor. That would really help the lineup.
I agree with both things you just said.
I would trust them. The way Fun Spot is, they would be the ones to be like, oh yeah, we're doing it, and then it just happens.
yeah.
They would. Like, they love RMC, for better or worse.
I mean, better at one park, worse at the other, you could say.
Yep.
Yeah, I also think, a Raptor would be cool. Watch them pull out a T-Rex out of nowhere.
They would also be the park to get the T-Rex for no reason.
Literally no reason. Fun Spot Orlando does not need that. Okay.
I will say, my local FEC is on watch because they had an old Pinfari's looping Zyklon that they put up for sale. And it's like a perfect plot for a Raptor. So I'm really crossing my fingers, like, please. And they're getting a lot of investment, too. They actually got one of those, like, 3-story go-kart tracks that Fun Spot gets. So I'm like, they could be the next ones to get a Raptor. So I really hope it happens.
You could draw a triangle around my house, and all three of those parks could use a Raptor. That being Niagara Amusement, Darien Lake, and Waldameer.
I agree.
I think a Raptor in the old Grizzly Run plot, which is the Intamin raft ride at Darien Lake, would be sick because they never filled in the troughs that the water was in. So you could do some cheetah hunt stuff, like diving in and out of the troughs. That'd be so cool.
That'd be the day when Darien Lake gets an Intamin Blitz or something of the same variety.
Give us a Vekoma multi-launch. It won't be that expensive. It'll be cool. You're already working with them for Flash Vertical Earthquake at Great Adventure.
Earthquake?
Yeah, there was a joke. McLovin made a joke on Twitter about how they're probably going to delay the construction of Flash Vertical Velocity and blame it on the earthquake or something.
Yep. That was actually Angela's joke. I just bounced off of that.
You did. That is true. Angela's very funny. Okay, that's it for viewer questions, which means I have to ask all of you a question, and I have a question for McLovin.
What's up?
What is the most you have ever spent to get a +1 monetarily? And I want to know if I can beat you.
This one.
I want to know if I can beat you.
I think it was Anarchista, which I don't remember off the top of my head how much that was, but I think it was hovering around the $60 range. And keep in mind that was before they built their second mountain coaster, just the one, the single rail one.
I got you destroyed.
All right, go for it.
I'm going on the Carnival Mardi Gras so I can ride Bolt the Ultimate Sea Coaster. That was like $1,700 a person for a balcony room.
Okay, yeah, but you're doing a lot more than just a +1.
Yeah.
If you're going on Carnival Mardi Gras exclusively for the +1, you're going to get very bored.
I worded my question very carefully. That being, what is the most you have ever spent to get a +1? I have to spend $1,700 per. Well, I don't, but I have to spend around $600 to $700 minimum to even get on the ship per person, plus the $30 upcharge for the ride.
It's $30 of an upcharge? I didn't know that.
I think it's either 15 or 30.
Oh, God.
Those are two very different numbers.
Yeah, just by a factor of 2. Taylor.
Yes.
I can't think of a question for you right now.
Okay.
Oh boy.
The question is, there is no question.
Kev, if you could have Geauga Lake area rebuild a roller coaster, not a roller coaster, sorry, a new park where Geauga Lake was that you can guarantee is going to thrive for the next 100 years at the cost of one of the other 2 Ohio parks, major Ohio parks, kicking the bucket, would you take that trade?
Oh, that's a good question.
That just reminded me, Alex didn't ask us a Geauga Lake question this week.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Wah, wah. Also, Josh, I think you need to specify, do we have unlimited budget in this new park?
I'm going to say you can assume it has after upfront costs, assume it has a similar operating budget to the park you get rid of, but it's under different management. You can take that how you will. Different management could be better or worse.
Honestly, I don't think I would do that. I think I would just keep Cedar Point and Kings Island around.
That's
Fair.
the right answer.
That's the selfless answer.
Because I never really went to Geauga Lake, so I don't have any.
I know what city you live in, but like, how long would it take you to get to Geauga Lake?
Where is Geauga Lake again? That's how you know I have no attachment to it. I don't remember even where it is.
Like between Akron and Cleveland, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably about 45 minutes.
That's not bad. How long does it take you to get to Cedar Point?
Cedar Point's about an hour and 20 minutes.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool if Geauga Lake was still around to have those 2 parks so close to you.
Yeah, I wish Geauga Lake still existed. Question for Taylor now.
Yay.
FMK.
Okay.
Flight of Fear.
Okay.
Coney Barbecue Mac and Cheese.
You're doing me dirty here.
And I gotta pick a really out of the box one here. The new train for Snoopy Soapbox Racers.
Okay, so we're gonna marry Flight of Fear because Flight of Fear always.
Yeah.
Coney Barbecue is my side piece.
Whoa, Elizabeth, no.
That's the only correct answer.
Yes.
And then I'm sorry, the new trains are really cute, but like that's a kid area, and hands off, I'm gonna have to kill the new trains.
Okay, so marrying is not okay in a kid's area, but murder, fair game. Good to know. You heard it here first, folks. Taylor doesn't have a good justification for that, and we're gonna wrap up this episode of Quad Down Pod. Thank you, Kev and Kev, for coming on the show. You guys are, of course, always welcome, friends of the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. You know how we end every single episode of this show. Orion's a Giga.
Orion's a Giga.
Orion's over 300 feet tall.
Orion is a Giga.
Quad down out.
Quad down out.